The Prime Minister normally exudes enough sunny optimism to power his own solar panel, but when it comes to lifting restrictions in England in just over 2 weeks' time, he's cautious.
What we need to assess is the extent to which the vaccine rollout, which has been phenomenal, has built up enough protection in the population in order for us to go ahead to the next stage.
Today's figures show 7,500 new infections, a 66% week-on-week increase. There are just over 1,000 people in hospital with COVID, which is only an 11% increase on a week ago. 6 coronavirus deaths have been reported, and the weekly increase there is 43%, but at a low level. NHS trusts think the vaccines are therefore breaking the link between infection and hospitalisation.
It's very, very striking that probably 2/3 to 3/4 of people who are coming into hospital are people who haven't had the double vaccination. There's about 20% who've had a single vaccination, and very, very small numbers, literally a handful who've had a double vaccination. And for those, many of those have actually had very pronounced comorbidities. In other words, they've already got other conditions.
And yet there are reports that the government is willing to countenance a 2 to 4 week delay to make sure vaccines have reached the most vulnerable people. But businesses want more certainty than that. Andrew Lloyd Webber has promised to reopen his 7 London theatres in June, come hell or high water. And if that's not allowed, he says, come to the theatre and arrest us. But even less dramatic theatre bosses are dreading another delay.
It would be really depressing and really frustrating, because we are all pinning our hopes on bringing audiences back, and everything we've been told by our audiences and the ticket sales we have for our next production tells us that audiences want to come back too.
The Prime Minister will decide when the show goes on Monday. Now, the good news for theatres and for everybody else is what the NHS trusts are saying. Almost nobody who's had 2 jabs is ending up in hospital. The vaccinations really are working. And yesterday, as 25 to 29-year-olds became eligible, there was a huge surge in demand there were 1 million individual bookings for first jabs. But what the Prime Minister has to decide on Monday is whether enough of the more vulnerable people in society have managed to get both 2 jabs and have had enough time for those to take effect before he takes the brakes off completely. And that's what ministers are still wrestling with.